this conspiracy?
Dummy. Conspiracy dummy.
Hey, welcome to Conspiracy Dummy, the conspiracy podcast that takes the chariots of the gods on joyrides. I am your host, Double D. Joining me on the podcast today, we have some demigods. First, we have the man of mystery and born-again conspiracy theorist, Mr. Williams. What's up?
Hey, ho ho.
What's good? Next, we have the son of God here to mate with the daughters of man, Mario, the Martian Martinez. What's up?
What's up? What it do?
What's good, guys? Hey, are you guys familiar with that show, Ancient Aliens?
I've seen, I don't know, anywhere between 1 and 7 seasons, probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of seasons, man. I think it's
what are they up to now?
16.
16?
16.
When did that show start?
Back in, what's it called? 2009, I believe? Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So it's 16 seasons and 184 episodes.
Oh, it's almost in syndication then.
Oh, yeah.
The people, they're going to make a lot of guap off that.
Bank, yeah.
For sure.
And
isn't it on the History Channel, too?
It is on the History Channel.
Isn't that so funny how some of those, shows or some of those channels, they go from history to aliens? Because wasn't it just all Nazis and stuff? Then all of a sudden it goes to, aliens and stuff.
And now there's alien Nazis.
Alien zombies, too.
Alien zombies, man.
Oh, shit.
Everything ties back in, man, to aliens. But, yeah, well, Ancient Aliens, also known as the Ancient Astronaut Theory, is based on the Eric Van Daniken's 1968 international bestseller, Chariots of the Gods, ? So I should say it, Chariots of the Gods?
Of the gods?
The gods?
Gotta have an upward inflection. Of the gods?
Yeah, so the whole book is riddled with questions, 238 to be exact. They're questioning the unsolved mysteries of the past, like who are we? How do we get here? Were we visited in the remote past by aliens / lowercase gods, or the big man or woman, or they, zim, zer, whatever pronoun you want to use, the capital God, and were they aiding or assisting us here on this planet? It also mentions that the ancient astronauts like to bang Earth chicks and then they like to fertilize them Anunnaki style.
Sounds like it'd make a good porno.
It would. I just picture a big gray alien with a bulbousy head, dark eyes, and there's, of course, some damsel in the bed. I just picture some scene from The Shining. It's a dark room. There's a spotlight on the bed. She's like, oh, no.
So Ancient Aliens is a show with a group of unique people with unique voices and unique hairstyles, and they show and explain how we were visited by aliens back in the day. For example, they talk about strange references in the ancient scriptures from all walks of life, all around the world, possible alien artifacts found, eyewitness accounts, indigenous people's beliefs, like people coming from the stars, and they're never pointing across land. They're always pointing upwards. Or even cargo cults, worshiping false modern-day idols in the Southwest Pacific. And they question how things were made, man, like megaliths, monoliths, any stone structures. Stone structures like Easter Island, we got the pyramids. You got pyramids all over the world.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff. You've got monoliths, you've got the Nazca lines. Monoliths have always been a big one to me because you try to think about how people of that time could erect something, a giant limestone block that weighs, 7 tons. That's pretty crazy.
And some of that stuff looks like it's just melted and formed, like some rocks in South America.
There's one, I'm glad you said that. There's one that I really like. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm going to butcher this really bad. I wish I would have wrote this out phonetically, but I didn't. Saskatchewan. I probably killed that, but it was, I think the place was erected in 900 CE. There's a section of the wall that still stands to this day. It's in Peru, and it's kind of like what Double D said. These giant blocks, I don't know how much each like individual stone weighs, but we're talking multiple tons. But they're formed, and they almost look fused or melted together because you can't even slide like a thin piece of paper like in between it or anything. It's really amazing and astounding to see the engineering or anything that had to have taken place, because you can tell it wasn't like the lines weren't just chiseled, so to speak, to make a seam or what have you, to give the illusion that it was happening. They've had engineers go in with modern technology and said, yeah, we don't know how it's done, but these are all like individual blocks that have been fused together by some form, some fashion. It's pretty crazy, and the rocks don't meld together naturally over time, like something that grows organically, like a tree, for instance. If there's something growing in a tree, that's why they always have to cut the trees back, because if they don't cut the trees back, the trees are just going to fuck up the power lines, right? I'm sure you've all seen it where there's like a power line, or there's somebody puts something in a tree, and over years and years and years that tree slowly grows around and envelops that object, right? Well, stones don't do that. So the stones aren't going to just naturally envelop them and create all these tight seams. I mean, it has to be fused. And those rocks, I don't know the temperatures. I'm not a scientist, but we're talking thousands of degrees. You would have to heat these rocks up to make them malleable enough to form and fuse these. Is
that scientifically possible?
Like
I know,
but if you're thinking about back then,
sand,
but
right?
you can.
Who's cutting shit back then?
But it's scientifically possible. But the thing is you got to think of the magnitude and the size of it. That's the crazy thing. Is you're talking about heating up something that weighs, I mean, tons, upwards of 12 tons. I mean, that's. I mean, think of a giant block. I can't even put it into perspective. I mean, think of 2 Greyhound buses. I mean, something that long, but just weighs 100 Greyhound buses. It's crazy. And we have the technology to like make things get things that hot, to make it malleable and stuff. But I don't know if they had that technology then to do that. Because you're
talking about precise precision, man. Like the cut, like Puma Punku, I think it's named.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on Puma Punku. That Puma Punku is probably the smoking gun, in my opinion.
And you're thinking at a time where our ancestors were like hunters and gatherers.
Oh yeah.
So how are they cutting these stone?
Well, Puma Punku is 600 AD, so after the death of Christ. So I don't know if
that's the Bronze Age.
I guess you're probably more knowledgeable on that subject than me. I just know they weren't throwing spears at animals and shit.
Let's see, what other stone structures do you know that's around?
Oh, dude, there's tons. I mean, Baalbek is a very notorious for having all these stone monoliths. There's a place called the Temple of Jupiter there that a lot of people go and they check it out. I mean, it's pretty much just kind of not much of it's still standing. But what is still standing is very astounding to see. There's another thing, too, in Baalbek called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. It's in a rock quarry that's in Baalbek. And if you'd have to see the pictures of it. It's called, I'm pretty sure, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman in Baalbek. I don't even know how much it would weigh. I mean, the size of this thing is crazy, and it's one solid block. And moving this thing, even with modern day technology, I mean, I guess we might be able to do it, maybe, probably not. And how they move this object is crazy. And the cool thing is Baalbek, they said, history says that it might have started around 2000 BC. What would you call him? Not a scientist, but Graham Hancock.
A researcher.
Yeah, researcher. Graham Hancock refutes that it was. He says it's actually older. It could be upwards of 12,000 BC. So it could be 10,000 years older. Which talks about the whole Göbekli Tepe. Mm-hmm. They're dating that motherfucker back way far. Dude,
predates.
So it predates like all this shit. It like Göbekli Tepe is one of those places that really just kind of rewrites what we know like of civilization, and really does lend to the fact that there could have been prior civilizations that had some sort of technology that aided them, or this technology was possibly not given to them, but the aliens and shit lended to that.
I think something had to help them, because if not, we'd figure it out right away. And all these are like mysteries that we can't even figure out, and we're so smart, and we have technology and computers and.
Well, I don't know, man. Like even the scriptures too, like Indian scripts, Sanskrits, talk about like flying cities or like this machines called the Vimanas, and then I guess they're like said in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. So they talk about like Shiva talking about becoming the destroyer of worlds and seeing like destruction and atomic explosion at that time. So something was going on, man. There was war in the sky. People were fighting.
Well, and haven't they taken, I don't know what you call it, those tests, the radioactive tests that you can go and, you take the meter out there, and if the meter, starts spiking, that's what they did in Fukushima and all those places. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen the guys wear the biohazard suit and they've got the thing, and the thing moves, they can do that. Yeah, the radiation little tester thing, and they can do that in those places where they've talked about, and it picks up minute amount of and in modern history, there's no bombs or anything that would go out. So why would there just be this? And to my knowledge, radiation doesn't just naturally occur, right? There's got to be something there that caused that to linger and something. That's what they're worried about, burying all the barrels of radioactive bullshit that comes from Area 51, which is a different podcast for a different day.
Yeah. And also, like in the Bible, too, man, there's a lot of references to UFO sightings or alien abductions. Like the book of Ezekiel, too, claims that he describes a UFO, the machine or whatever. It's like burning bronze, and it's like a wheel within a wheel. And it has like all these creature parts to it, but with human-like faces. It's like a weird description.
The book of Enoch also, he says he rides his fire chariot from earth to heaven and heaven back.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's kind of weird. How can you ride a chariot to heaven?
Oh yeah, and
you would think it's like a different
and he's taken by the
he's
taken by the Watchers.
Yeah,
they're referenced in the Bible too, man. Like in I think the book of Daniel too, about the Watchers and the Nephilim.
Mm-hmm.
The Watchers are they're like angels or something that's cast out from heaven.
Well, those are supposedly the Anunnaki.
Mm-hmm.
They came down and fucked all the smoking hot earth chicks, knocked those hoes up, and what do you get? The Nephilim from that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's
little mutts.
Yeah, man, and that's what they say. The Nephilim were the giants that could have possibly. They said it's either aliens or it could be Nephilim. I mean, they don't know. We all love to speculate. And it could be though, because a lot of those Nephilim were fucking, giants and shit. You've heard of those caves they've uncovered where they find 16 foot long skeletons and
real skeletons.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like somebody had to build fucking the pyramids. Somebody that's fucking huge.
I would like to know, and that's one of those things we would all love to be answered. But it's one of life's great mysteries. Who the fuck and why? And the more important question is why the fuck would they do that? Because here's the thing you got to think about is when we're talking about the pyramids specifically, we know those motherfuckers weren't built overnight. You're talking hundreds, if not thousands of years that it took to erect those monoliths, I guess you call them. And thinking about that, all the planning and the dedication that comes into that to me is mind blowing. I mean, most people. Yeah.
You think about the city construction that they're just rebuilding a road. It takes them fucking like half a year.
Yeah, man.
Just to rebuild a road.
And your whole life is spent building a fucking pyramid.
But the other thing too is like think about it. Depending on how long it takes to build that, it's not just you. It's not just your son, your grandkids. It's tens, if not hundreds, of different generations of people potentially. If you bear children and they'd build children and they build children and they bear children. And if it never stops, you're talking about tens of, if not hundreds of different generations, depending on how long it took to erect that.
Let's say aliens did build it. How long do you think it would take them to build that?
No time. They would sneeze and it would already be up.
Fucking aliens are awesome.
Dude.
That's the best answer for everything, bro. It's like that Giorgio Tsoukalos meme. Have you seen it?
No.
When it's just aliens and it just has his face or whatever. You fill in the blank and its answer is aliens.
It's always aliens.
That's what I'm going to use around the house. Like, who fucking left the toilet seat up? Aliens. Who fucking put the last fucking drop of milk back into the fucking refrigerator and shit? Aliens. Why do you have hickeys on your neck? Aliens.
Why do you got that anal probe sticking out of your ass? Yeah, it's aliens.
Like, nah, I was just over at Doug's. We had a crazy night. I really don't want to talk about it.
Fucking aliens. Yeah, well, let's see. What else is there? I know they found some figurines too, supposedly little gold figurines in Ecuador, little gold spaceships. I know that's one of in the earlier episodes they were talking about little.
And did they
descriptions
took
of planes in Egypt.
They took that model and they blew it up like times 10 or some shit. And actually, they didn't fuck with it. They just took it from this size and they blew it up, and it was this size, and it flew perfect. There was no problems. It was perfectly aerodynamic. And they're thinking to themselves, how did somebody way back then with no knowledge of planes or anything like that, with anything to do with aerodynamics, built this thing that could fly perfectly? It's not like they had, to my knowledge. I don't know. I could probably get my dick beat in the comments on this, but to my knowledge, they didn't have paper. They couldn't make fucking planes, so they couldn't figure out aerodynamics in that simple form. So that begs the question as to how.
Maybe just birds.
Well, that's a lot of things you think they compare to nature.
Damn, birds. You're
And
totally right.
and they see
shit.
I mean,
fuck. Well, then
It's
again, if
kinda
they
weird,
see
though,
a
how our
fucking
airplanes look like
spaceship,
birds,
well,
huh?
if it was like a plane or a spaceship,
Well, I don't know.
They don't know those nuts and bolts terminology. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's different for them, so they're just comparing to what they fucking see in nature. You know, and it always trips out too with dragons. Like you see fucking Quetzalcoatl, and there's a dragon there. There's a dragon in Japan. There's a dragon in fucking medieval times.
Yeah, they
Like,
can only describe what they see
The
based
fuck is
on the
flying
knowledge
around
they
like
have.
that? Yeah, it's just like maybe it's just some fucking smoky fire in the sky, bro.
Yeah, man. That's what they say. You know, it was a giant. It was a chariot. We saw a chariot in the sky.
Chariots of fire.
Yeah, and back in the day, like,
And
that's what they had were chariots. So
And
they
dude-
could only use what they had to interpret what they fucking saw. They'd be like, you know, I saw a Volkswagen Beetle and it was on fire in the sky. You know, in reality, it was a giant ladybug just going around and fucking people up. I mean,
And they're claiming to be gods, bro, or the god. But why would God need a fucking vehicle to get from one place to another if he's God? Like all these visitations, like in the book of Ezekiel, he's giving a description, sat upon the glory of the Lord, top of some machine.
oh, is that the one that has the rings and
Yeah.
and it spins and everything?
So I don't know, man. Either that fool was tripping
Wheel
balls
within a
or
wheel?
on some shit, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't really know too much. To be honest with you, I don't really know too much about the Bible. So, and I know there's a lot of frames of reference you can draw from that correlate with the idea of ancient aliens. So I would love to be able to lend and add on to that, but I have little to no knowledge of
well, it's
Ezekiel
weird because the Bible, the Sumerian tablets and all that, supposedly it
Predates
seems like,
the Bible.
yeah, exactly. It
Like
predates the
fucking
Bible.
story, the Epic
But
of Gilgamesh.
it seems like the
Bible.
Bible's really just stories from those, you know,
Yeah.
or like I don't know.
Give us the synopsis of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
I can't remember so much about it. This is one dude's journey. It's similar to like Joseph Campbell's.
Isn't it
the
similar?
hero's journey?
Yeah,
you
I was
know?
about to say, isn't it similar
It's always
to like
a story
the hero's,
of a journey.
the hero's journey?
Yeah, some dude goes off and
Fights somebody, makes a
Yeah.
friend, and you know, in the journey, and then does this.
yeah.
But it was,
Redemption, story of
but
redemption
yeah,
or
when they
something like that.
said that Gilgamesh could
Yeah.
possibly be
No. His friend Enkidu.
Enkidu
Was a Bigfoot,
could possibly be
which is one of my favorite.
Sasquatch.
Which is one of my favorite ancient alien episodes. Ancient alien or aliens and Bigfoot, like,
Well, yeah, they
dude,
go
what
hand in
if,
hand.
what if Bigfoot is an interdimensional alien from the planet Kashyyyk? Kashyyyk.
Him and fucking Chewie.
Who knows? That's my favorite. One of my favorite. There's a lot of crazy fucking episodes though.
There's a ton of crazy episodes, and that's the other thing too that I wanted to say is you know, with the show, I don't want to get too caught up in the show. I like the theory, and the theory is very sexy, but some of those episodes on the show specifically are so crazy and so far fetched. I'm like, man, you got to be reaching a little bit on this one, because they're talking about, like, I don't even know, I can't even think of anything crazy, you know, robotic fucking something or another, and I'm like, oh,
And they have a lot of guests, bro,
Yeah.
from like all walks of life, experts in
yeah.
every field.
there's some in the original seasons. There's some really compelling episodes. The Monolith episode, when they go over the Eric von Daniken, when they go over what evidence they have to support it. Some of the episodes are really compelling, and they do have some very informative things that make you kind of say, I've never thought of it from that perspective. And again, there's other episodes that you're like, what the fuck are they even talking about, dude? That just, lose you. So I like the idea. And to me, there's really no way of us knowing how these structures or these things happened. But I do like to believe that whether it is the ancient alien theory, that they had some hand in helping that, whether it was the Nephilim, aliens, whether it was them and they had their own technology that were able to do that, and then something cataclysmic happened and knocked everybody dead, and we had to start back from zero, basically.
Which is like Graham Hancock's theory, saying like basically we just rose to great lengths at one time, something came, fucked us all up.
Well, yeah, it's weird how
restart.
Humans are the only species on Earth that's evolved. There's no other animals, the closest thing is monkeys, but they're not as smart as us.
Well, I thought, and Double D knows, that's very true, and Double D knows a lot more about anthropology than I do, but from my little understanding, I know there's like different groups of
Just
primates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like branched off and shit, and Homo sapien were one of them, and Homo sapien ended up actually becoming humans, where I guess in the long shot, to be honest with you, if Ancient Alien is true, because there is a theory that aliens came down and had a process and intervened in our evolution and caused Homo sapien or whoever to become Homo sapien or whatever.
Right, no, not Homo sapien. It had to be before the precursors, like.
But what I'm saying is like,
or even far back, like.
Yeah.
Australopithecus afarensis, like Lucy or something, like way back then. Somewhere around there, there's a missing link that something was added, probably. They just looked at what kind of fucking person. Well, that's Zechariah Sitchin's theory, right? About Nibiru.
Well, yeah, because you would think some other
planet.
species on Earth would have already caught up to us,
Well,
or
that's
at
the
least
thing.
showed some superior intelligence, just like us.
Well, that's what Zechariah Sitchin stated, that with the cuneiform or the writings from the Sumerians, saying that they were enslaved basically. Some visitors came somewhere. They needed gold, I guess, for their atmosphere. Something was going on it was thinning,
Right.
so they needed something to. I don't know, but
no,
they needed.
it's actually scientifically proven to repair our own atmosphere. Pulverized gold.
And for the time when Zechariah
it's
Sitchin
tripped
I don't even know if he knew that. You know what I mean? He's probably just reading it from these tablets or
Right.
whatever. And then the Sumerians knew a lot of shit, dude. They knew a lot about astrology. They were
The
talking
DNA. Isn't there like a
the
DNA
helix,
strand on one of the tablets?
They do. The snake.
And the
serpents.
solar system too, no?
Yeah, kind of
How the
depicted.
fuck
And
they
then
didn't have,
I think they see other.
telescopes.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking of
for
the
their
solar
time.
system, one of the monoliths, one of the more famous ones, Stonehenge, they say it was actually erected, and there's a lot of these. I can't think of it total things off the top of my head, but Stonehenge is one of them. There's a lot of different things that were erected to, I guess, help people know the switching of seasons or something to that effect, because there's always a correlation between there's like one stone or like one hole in a wall that goes into a room, toward the light during that one time of the year as the sun sets and the equinox, whatever the fuck happens, and it, shines perfectly, and that, shadow turns and it goes through the hole, and Patrick Ewing hits the dunk, and it all fucking goes perfectly and everything.
Indiana
Dude,
Jones
these
Temple
fuckers
of
had a
Doom.
lot of time on their hands, bro.
Yeah,
if they're
think
doing
about
shit
that.
like that.
Think about that, man.
There's like
They
one
had-
day out of the fucking year, the serpent of the fucking side of the fucking pyramid, and what's it?
Yeah,
It goes up.
Yeah, it goes up.
It goes up. Think about that, man.
Fuck is that place?
Graham Hancock, right?
No,
Equinox.
Chichen Itza?
Chichen Itza?
No, I don't know.
Something about seeing the snake at the right time of the year on the mountain, or
Teotihuacan?
I don't know.
Fuck, I
something-
can't
I don't know.
remember.
I'm just rattling off places. I don't
Yeah.
even know.
But yeah, man, it's interesting how our ancestors or people from the past, man, knew that. Like, we don't give them enough credit, man. They were fucking smart as fuck. But that's just, like I said, it's just different terminology they're using to describe stuff that they're describing. Like today, obviously, we know what the fuck we're seeing. Back then, if it's some nuts and bolts machine visiting them, then they're not gonna know what the fuck that is.
No, they wouldn't know how to interpret that.
Yeah.
But I think that is part of the theory that aliens came down and, you know, they had a...
And we can modify ourselves today. So
Well, they can. There's technology on par, like CRISPR. Like, people can go in. It's crazy, you know, because people can go in now. I don't know about maybe now, but in the future, 10, 15 years, you're going to be able to go in and say, hey, I want a girl that has blue eyes and, you know, this and that.
Mario's definitely gonna be there.
Yeah.
They put this order in, man. But yeah, yeah, but you know, yeah, dude, like in babies, you can even fucking design your own babies nowadays, I think.
Yeah. They have all that. They have all that stuff.
Well, I think we were engineered somehow. Like if you just see our cardiovascular system, our veins go to your fingertips, your toe fingers.
Your toe connects to your your
the way we move, the way we function is like, I feel like we're engineered by something.
Oh, we have.
Whether it was God or aliens or something, like our bodies are too unique.
Yeah.
The fact that you breathe, your heart pumps without even thinking about it.
Well, dude, and
I feel like we're just biological
there
robots.
was in the book, one of the books of Zechariah Sitchin, it talks about fucking like them genetically making us and shit from like their earlier hominids that were roaming the planet to enslave us for the mining. They talk about a lot of fucking trial and error too, bro. Like people just like their internal organs or just shit just failing on them. So it is interesting, dude. Like, and we see that with human beings today and throughout history. We enslave ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, where the fuck did we get that shit from?
That's one of the
It's
reasons
like we're
I believe the Sumerian
fucking
story is because supposedly they wanted a slave race, and we're always trying to get people to do our fucking work, or we're always trying to trick people, or we're always trying to just...
And there's always has to be this ruler or some shit, like a king figure or whatever the fuck, a godly figure, huh?
Anyway, you were talking about how it's crazy how the body, and it is, how like your lungs and everything, how you have, there's a term for it, I can't think of it. You have these auto, like musculatory reflexes or whatever. Your heart pumps on its own, your liver does this, your small intestine, you know, always does this to push, you know, stuff through. Let me ask you something. When your car, all of a sudden you go out and, you know, you click it and it doesn't turn on, you know, you're like, oh, what do you usually do? Usually, why does it usually not start?
Bad connection?
Yeah, the battery's usually dead.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and mess with the battery, and that's usually what, electric, right? Because it has a lack of electricity, right? When a human heart stops, what do they usually use?
Yeah, the defibs.
The defibs, and what is that? That's an electric shock.
Also, what trips me out is that our brain controls everything with electric.
Yes.
Pulses.
That's
or
crazy.
Electromagnetic pulses.
Yeah,
Frankenstein, bro.
That's crazy.
So really, we're just robots. If you think about it, when you break us down, you can't move your fingers or your arm without the electrical signals being sent from your brain to that muscle or that bone or
organic robotic simulations.
Drop mic.
No, for real, this tripped out shit.
I mean, it is crazy, man. It is crazy to think about, you know, how it all worked. But I mean, back to what you were saying originally, man. I don't know how we were like the primates that we branched off on were the ones. I think those are the ones that the aliens came down and messed with potentially.
Well, yeah, because they were smart, so they figured, well, this is the best.
I think so. Yeah.
This is the best candidate for our trial and error DNA swap, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had the right digits on the finger.
Or
and
who
the
knows
hands.
if they didn't try every animal, you know?
They probably did.
Mm.
Got some fucking Island of Dr.
know,
Moreau shit going on. Huh? All these fucking...
Maybe. I mean, when you think about it, like you said, there's a lot of paintings and stuff where you look in the background, there's obviously an alien ship with, you know, the thing that comes down.
And like, if you think about like some of these pagan gods or like the Hindu gods, bro, there's like half monkey and half man or a fucking god that's like this. Maybe that's what
Egyptian. There's all like
the
Egyptian
eagle
gods
and
the
the
goats.
like
don't they have horses' heads?
It's like anthropomorphic figure or something. You know what I mean? It's like half human, half man. The characteristics of whatever.
Don't the Native Americans talk about
Same
that too?
Same thing. Yeah. So maybe there's like some fucking trial and error, some spicing going on with different animals and shit. Probably did
Oh,
have
and
it
then
one
we're
time.
learning even today's age that we could do that kind of shit, cloning
Yeah.
and gene splicing and all that.
Oh, dude, all that stuff's crazy. I remember when I don't know if I'd say I was a kid, but I don't remember how old I was, a young teenager, and they cloned this sheep. And I remember it was a big fucking deal. It was here in America, man, and they cloned a sheep, and there were people throwing sidekicks for Jesus out in the street. I mean, there was confetti falling down. Everybody was going crazy. It was on every 8 o'clock news. It was the only thing I could watch. I'm sitting there, trying to watch Marty McFly, and they're talking about how they cloned a sheep in a test tube, and I'm like, dude, come on, I'm trying to get back to my program. This is the only thing I can watch. But it's crazy how they do that. And the technology has just gotten even more crazier now. Like we were just talking about how you can do all this gene editing, right? So you can go in, okay, and you're like, oh, dude, you know what? Hey, Mario, we did some stuff. We took some blood, we did some DNA, and we were looking at your past history, and we know that, just as an example, some of these traits, tend to fall in your family. You might have, predisposure to exposure to heart failure,
Diabetes.
Diabetes. You might have some lymphoma. You might have some alcoholism in your family. We looked at this. And listen, bro, we don't want this to happen to your niños or anybody. So what we can do, for a small nickel, we'll go in, we'll take those genes out, dude. So you don't have to worry about any of that heart disease, none of that diabetes, nothing else that comes involved with that. And while we're in there, you know what? If you want to throw us an extra 100, if you prefer blue eyes it is. We'll do it. And all that technology, dude, is right on the cusp of things, man. We're right here.
What trips me out is that we have technology to do all that, but yet to dig in the ground, we still use a shovel.
Oh, we use like backhoes and shit, don't we?
Well, that's like the machines, but they still go based off the same principle as a shovel. You gotta like literally. And then isn't that what the Sumerian story says? Like they were just astronauts, the Anunnaki, looking for gold, and they had to dig for it. And then it's weird how there's no technology. Well, it's weird that all these years, even drilling for oil, it takes forever.
And look,
like there's no.
And who are these motherfuckers that own these companies? They're not doing it themselves, so they'll fucking. But look, it's not necessary slavery. They're paying you good money sometimes out there, you know what I mean? So it's different. Now they learn from it, hopefully. But in some countries they're not doing that shit. You know what I mean? I bet there's still fucking slavery going on, but that's what they were doing back then, man. So these fuckers came from somewhere. They want to do the mining themselves.
Well, and that's the thing too. You would think an alien race that has a technology to, go light years potentially, and that's crazy to say. Maybe they can warp speed or light or bend space, what have you. But they had the technology to do that, but they didn't have the technology to extract gold out of the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
I figured they'd have a gold magnet. They just hover over the ground, and all the gold just goes up to the magnet and shit. And they're like, all right, peace. But they're like, hey, you, the guy with the thick eyebrow set, go fucking dig that ditch and give me some fucking gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed. To dig is so hard. It's crazy.
You can't, and that's a good point. Well, because I think you have to have some sort of. Are you talking about like you have to have something physical, get into the ground? Like I don't know if we'll ever be in a time where you can just maybe where I guess. I'm trying. I don't even know how to say. I don't even know how to articulate it.
But it's weird how we can clone sheep, woolly mammoths. We could do all kinds of things with gene splicing, stem cells, but we can't get into the ground. It's still real difficult. You need a big backhoe to dig, or a shovel, or a pickaxe.
Well, the other thing too,
you gotta break your back. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of, that kind of speaks on a totally different conspiracy that we only know so deep about the earth, I guess. We only speculate what's in we know there we think there's this little magna core in the middle, and then on the outer side you have this section, and then you have this outer tectonic crust, and then you have the formidable crust, and then you have the exterior layer. These are just bullshit I'm making up here, ladies and gentlemen. And you have the actual exterior crust that we all live in and shit. But there's stuff that talks about there could be a hollow earth theory
Or a flat earth,
yeah,
bro.
I've heard about that. It's just weird how technology works.
And also, you know what's interesting, bro? Some of the fucking maps they were talking about in the episodes predate our knowledge of these lands and the geography of the topography or whatever the fuck you call it of these lands that they were fucking on these maps. We didn't even know at the time.
It's people that, well, and there's two things real quick. So it's basically what you said, but also there are people, I'm going to use an example here. I might be right, I might be wrong. There's people that on different sides of the earth, like they had very similar dragon statues, I guess, or very similar looking statues on two totally different sides of the earth at the same time, where we were known, we thought, we don't have planes to go there. It would take months and months and months to do ships. We didn't know of anybody that had ships back in those days or anything. There was no writings about ships, no logs about them going and doing, ship rides and doing voyages, going and meeting new people and stuff. So through that, we just assumed they were all, at that one place. So how could you have this same statue and this same statue on this side of the earth, and also what you said? I don't remember what you said.
I just forgot what I said too.
You said
the maps.
You said the maps. Yeah. How did they without having the technology to?
I know what. Aliens.
I mean, it explains a lot. It makes sense.
Yes, it does.
I mean, it does explain quite a bit, but I just wonder how they were able to do that, because they knew topography and geology without having the knowledge of the science or the ability to have ships and go around and survey the land basically and get an idea of what the fuck was going on. They didn't have that kind of luxury, I guess, to our mind. I mean, who knows? I mean, at the same time, we're talking about the same people that were apparently constructing monoliths. So
but it's funny when you hear about all these stories like ancient aliens or just stories in the Bible, or there's a lot of visitation happening then. Why not now? Like them visiting, you see fucking UFOs or lights in the sky, but like no really
now
visitations.
Well, that's what I'm so I know what you're saying. What I'm saying is I agree, but I think that what we are is it's hard to say because it's all speculation, right? So the whole ancient alien theory is that aliens came down and they helped us either construct these crazy monoliths, or they came down and intervened in our evolution, through DNA splicing and gene editing and all that stuff, right? The other thing is what I was saying is the aliens, the sightings and stuff that we have now could potentially just be them coming back to the zoo, okay? And them checking out on all the animals. How are the animals doing? Like, oh my God, dude, the monkeys are going fucking crazy. We gotta do something about these fucking monkeys over here, right? We've got these monkeys on the left that are fucking screaming about these monkeys over here on the right. We don't fucking know what's going on. So I think the sightings we have now are the ones that are just coming back to the zoo just to check out their experiment.
The zoology theory.
Yeah.
So they're just seeing us, observing from a distance.
They're just observing us.
Or maybe they're just coming back every now and then for the gold. Because the Sumerian tablets say they needed gold. And what's one of the few things that are still precious to this day is gold. Gold still has the people here in the U.S. are buying gold because the U.S. dollar isn't the same as what it used to be. So now they're investing in gold because gold does not lose its value. And isn't that weird? Like, what's so special about gold?
And our interest in it too. It's like we got that from someone.
Yeah, like
gold. Look, I'm not a metallist, or I don't know shit about metallurgy, but gold has a lot of properties that a lot of different metals have. Like, it's real malleable but real dense, and it's very good conducting abilities. Like, they use it in trace forms to put in like microchips and bullshit like that. They use gold in a lot of different ways. Like, you can utilize gold in many, many other ways than you can utilize aluminum and things like this.
Yeah, but if you think about it though, gold has no value to the common person.
Shit.
Well, we can't eat gold.
I'll get some gold teeth. Shit.
Some gold teeth.
I was raised on Wu-Tang.
Well, no, but like, what can we really do with gold? You have to be like a manufacturer, or you have to be some kind of company, corporation, which, it's a little strange. You know what I mean? Like, to us normal folk, or, you can't really do nothing with gold besides look at it.
How do you explain the gold rush, though?
Well, no, I don't know. It's
Well,
weird.
because they knew that there was money in the gold. That's what it was. It's people were flocking to that, and that's why they call the Silicon Valley like the new gold rush of California, because everybody went to Silicon Valley, to this technology place and shit. But I mean, everybody just flocked to the gold. I mean, that's a good point. I don't know
weird
why.
How millions of years have passed, or hundreds of thousands, and gold is like one of the things that stayed valuable.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Let's switch it up a little bit. Nazca lines. Did we talk about the Nazca lines?
I thought I brought that up, but I didn't think so.
That's pretty interesting too, man. Just
that's in Peru. Yeah, the Nazca lines are crazy. So the Nazca lines, you want to talk about a potential smoking gun as well. The potential smoking gun is also, in my mind, not only Puma Punku, not only the stone of the pregnant woman, but also obviously Gobekli Tepe, but also the Nazca lines, because the Nazca lines were made to where you can only see it above, like way high, like in a plane type of shit, right? Before they had the ability to
aerial view. Yep.
You can only view it airily in the air. It's crazy. And these aren't, we're not talking about something this tall or as long as this table. We're talking about, figurines, cats and people and faces and designs that
like football
that
fields,
stretch
or even bigger
football
than
fields,
that shit.
miles long. And over time, they've etched away a certain layer of the crust to where even thousands of years later, it hasn't gotten covered up. It's still there.
There's not much wind in that area too. It's very dry.
Well, how do you explain the moving rocks?
That's a trip too.
The rocks that move.
Aliens.
But the Nazca lines, I mean, you got to think, what was the mindset? Because again, going back to the pyramids, this isn't something that, they did in a day. It probably took weeks and months of not only... Because you look at the pictures of the preciseness of it, and they had to calculate a lot of this. Isn't just something, they thought of and just, let's draw a stick figure in the sand. No, a lot of these are pretty fucking precise, dude. And to have that kind of knowledge in mathematics and engineering at that time, it's pretty astounding. Yeah, and that's something...
And the only way to see your work is from above, so it's like, who was looking at this work of art?
Exactly.
How can you dig ditches for football fields and then be like, okay, we finished. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Can someone tell us it looks amazing?
That's great. That's a good point. Why, if they obviously didn't make those for themselves, because how can you can't enjoy it?
Like I said, people just had a lot of fucking time on their hands, bro. They're building stick figures in the sand out there in Peru. They're building big fucking pyramids out in Cairo. You got fucking big fucking giant heads like yours out there in fucking South America. They're finding in the fucking...
in that book, Chariots of the Gods, there's a picture of, I guess, one of those, and it's like a man pointing. And it's like, what is it used for directions too? Directions for who? If you can't see that from the ground level to show you, hey, go that way, whose directions are those?
That is trippy, huh?
Like,
or is he saying hi? He's probably like waving.
I don't know.
That's crazy. It is.
That's a trip out shit.
I don't know what else to cover with the ancient aliens.
I mean, the whole topic, it's a very sexy idea. I really like the theory and there's some things to me that even a skeptic would look at, and they'd look you in the face and they'd say, you know what, you're right. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you scientifically how this was done. I don't know. I don't know how somebody of that time, with what knowledge they have from a professional and academic standpoint, okay, and they can't come up with a solution or an explanation as to how or why they constructed these things. And obviously I'm talking about more specifically monoliths and stuff. which in my opinion again is got to be the smoking gun in all of this. I'm sure that's probably pretty obvious, but
Or Pakal, the Palenque, the slab of the, I think it's a Mayan glyph or carving. Showing some guy kind of operating some,
it's crazy,
spacecraft or some machine.
Yeah, he's in
apparatus. What do you call
Yeah,
that
he has
shit?
an apparatus in his nose, and he's like messing with some dials with his hands, and he's got a lever that he's adjusting with his foot, and he's obviously like tucked in a position that astronauts, you usually see astronauts in, and it's, you look at it and it's crazy, because that's the crazy thing, is you look at it and you think to yourself, how did a people at this time with no knowledge of anything like this, because I wish we could have a picture of it, but just, what is it called?
It's Pakal.
The
emperor. I don't know if he's a king or a ruler.
Okay,
Pakal.
so Pakal's the guy, and there's an etching of him on stone. Take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, and just look at the apparatus that's in his nose. Why would something in that time, why would they need that? Why would he be deprived of what he naturally breathes? Don't get me wrong, there's some explanations, which I'm totally open-minded to, that, oh, this was just the vessel that, you entered, you were in to enter the afterlife, or what have you, or I understand those, but in my opinion, really and truly, I'm sitting here thinking, and there's a lot of levers and modulars and buttons and foot pedals and stuff, that an apparatus that he's messing with, and you look at it and you're like, this just, it's hard to make sense of. It's really hard to make sense of.
It's a great work of art, man.
It's a very great work of art. It's very compelling.
For its time, it's very surreal.
Yeah, man.
It's a surreal artist right there.
It's amazing. It's amazing. There's so many different things that in pieces of evidence that kind of lend to the theory. Again, when you're talking about the show specifically, there are a lot of kind of far-fetched ideas and episodes, but again, the idea I like, and I would have to say, I do think that maybe we did have
visitation,
some sort of visitation. Aliens came down, and whether they aided us in I've seen that. I'm looking at the tablet right now. So he's laying back, and he's definitely in a vessel of some kind. He's got his hands on some levers. He's got some thing in his nose. He's messing with some foot pedals. He's definitely in a rocket, it looks like. If you look at the bottom, you can see some flames down low. There's a lot of different good renderings where they kind of highlight certain things and give their description on, what might be happening in this certain sequence, in this quadrant, so to speak, of this little etching. It's very enlightening. I would recommend everybody to go take a look at that. It's Palenque, the Mayan astronaut. Go take a look at that and let me know in the comment section what you think that it could be. Because, again, it looks like a motherfucker in a spaceship to me, bitch.
It does. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you don't really see that nowadays, like artists or people that do paintings or drawings. You don't see them with some kind of futuristic thing that we've never seen.
No, you're right.
Like, it's weird how these people had such a imagination to imagine the future.
For the time,
well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you guys see movies nowadays, like
maybe.
But even movies, only go so far.
What about? I don't know, man. Look at 2001, bro. That's trippy. When that ape realizes, it's like that moment.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is, like,
expanded.
There's no airplanes or any kind of machinery in those days, but yet they can draw machinery. It's like if today you were be able to make a drawing of something that would come thousands of years later, and they'd be like, how the fuck did Danny know about this? You know what I mean? Like, you don't see drawings like that from people nowadays.
They will.
Like, what the fuck? What's this?
Well, the only thing I can think
that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm just gonna draw weird stuff on fucking rocks and shit. That's gonna stay there forever, ever. I could see the robots of the future deciphering that right now.
It appears to be a conspiracy, dummy. having sex with an alien on a spaceship while the Watchers are watching.
The